You're being manipulated every day. The average person in a developed country sees about 4,000 to 10,000 advertisements daily, each one carefully designed by psychologists to make you feel incomplete, and it's working. Households across North America, Europe, Asia are drowning in debt, buying things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't even like. Today, I'm breaking down how consumer culture traps you, what it's really costing you, and 6 practical strategies to break free from it. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about how this works, because once you see the mechanism, you can't unsee it. There's a psychological phenomenon called the hedonic treadmill. Here's how it works. You see something you want. Maybe it's a new phone, a piece of furniture, new clothes. You think, if I just had that, I'd be happy. So you buy it. And for a brief moment, maybe a few days, a few weeks, you feel good. You feel satisfied. But then something happens. That satisfaction fades. The new thing becomes normal. And suddenly, you're looking at the next thing. This isn't an accident. This is engineered. Research from universities across Europe shows that modern advertising doesn't just inform you about products. It creates dissatisfaction with what you already have. Think about it. Before you saw that ad, you were fine. Your phone worked, your clothes were adequate, your home was comfortable. But after the ad, suddenly your phone is outdated. Your clothes are last season, your home needs upgrading. In the UK, the average person spends 2 hours and 23 minutes per day on social media. In Sweden, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. In Japan, 1 hour and 53 minutes. And what are you seeing during that time? Influencers with perfect lives, perfect homes, perfect everything. All sponsored by brands that are trying to sell you something. But here's what they don't show you. Those influencers are paid to make you feel inadequate. That's literally their job. They're not sharing their life. They're performing a commercial and you're the target. Psychologists call this social comparison theory. We naturally compare ourselves to others to evaluate our own worth. But historically you compared yourself to your neighbors, to your community, people in similar circumstances. Now you're comparing yourself to millionaires, celebrities, and people whose entire income depends on looking aspirational. Studies from Germany's Max Planck Institute show that people that spend more time on social media report a lower life satisfaction. Not because their lives got worse, but because their comparison point changed. Your life didn't change, your standard for enough did. And this is the trap. Consumer culture doesn't sell you products, it sells you dissatisfaction with what you have, so you buy something to fill the gap. But the gap never closes, because the moment you fill it, they create a new one. So what is this exactly costing you? Let's break it down. In France, the average household carries 8,000 euros in consumer debt. In Canada, it's $21,000. In Australia, $18,000. And here's the thing, most of that debt isn't for necessities. It's for things people thought they needed, but actually just wanted in the moment. A study across Nordic countries found that 40% of purchases made on impulse are regretted within a week. 40%. That means that half the stuff people buy, they wish they hadn't bought just days later. But it's not just the purchase price, it's the interest. If you're carrying consumer debt at 50 to 20% interest, you're paying double or triple for things you don't even need in the first place. But money isn't even the biggest cost. Time is. Think about it. Every purchase you make requires hours of your life to earn the money to pay for it. In the Netherlands, the average person works 1,434 hours per year. In the UK, 1,367 hours. In South Korea, 1,915 hours. That's not abstract. That's your life. Hours you'll never get back, traded for things you probably don't need. But it doesn't stop there. Every possession requires maintenance. Time to clean it, organize it, repair it, store it, move it. Think about it. Research from Japan shows that the average household spends 7 hours a week managing their possessions. That's organizing, cleaning, maintaining, and dealing with clutter. 7 hours a week, that's 364 hours a year. A full 15 days just managing stuff. And most of that stuff, you don't even use it. Studies across Europe show that people use only 20% of what they own regularly. The other 80% just sitting there, taking up space, requiring your time and mental energy. This is the cost nobody talks about. The mental load. Researchers at Princeton University found that physical clutter competes for your attention, reduces your ability to focus, and increases your stress levels. In Sweden, studies show that people living in cluttered environments have higher cortisol levels, the stress hormone, than those in organized spaces. Every item you own is a tiny decision to be made. Where does it go? Do I need it? Should I keep it? What do I do with it? Multiply that by hundreds or thousands of items, and you're carrying a massive cognitive load without even realizing it. And here's the kicker. All that mental energy spent on stuff you don't need is energy you can't spend on things that actually matter. Your relationships, your health, your goals, your peace of mind. And then there's what happens to all this stuff we don't need. In the UK, people throw away 350,000 tons of clothing every year. Most of it synthetic fabrics, basically plastics, that will sit in landfills for centuries. Globally, we discard 50 million tons of electronic waste annually. Devices filled with toxic chemicals, rare earth metals, and materials that leach into the soil and water. The average car tire sheds about 1 kilogram of rubber particles over its lifetime, microplastics that end up in rivers, oceans, and eventually the food chain. We're producing 2 billion tires a year globally. In Germany, researchers found PFAS chemicals used in non-stick cookware, waterproof clothing, and food packaging in 98% of blood samples tested. These chemicals don't break down, they accumulate. Now, I'm not here to preach about saving the planet, but here's the practical reality. When you buy cheap stuff you don't need, you're not just wasting money. You're bringing toxic materials into your home, materials that off-gas chemicals your family breathes, materials that eventually end up contaminating the soil and water where you live. This is why our grandparents bought less, but bought better. A quality tool that lasted decades instead of plastic junk that breaks in months. They weren't trying to save the environment. They were just being practical. Less waste, less money spent, less garbage to deal with. Consumer culture doesn't just trap you mentally and financially. It fills your home and your community with literal garbage. And somebody has to deal with that. Usually it's you, your kids, and your neighbors living with the consequences. Alright, we've established the problem. Now let's talk about solutions. These are 6 practical strategies you can implement immediately to break free from the consumption trap. Here's the rule. Before you buy anything non-essential, wait 30 days. Write down what you want to buy, the date, and why you want it. Then wait. If after 30 days you still want it, and you can still remember it, and still justify it, then consider buying it. But here's what usually happens. You forget about it, or you realize you don't actually need it, or the emotional impulse that drove that desire has passed. Studies from behavioral economists in the Netherlands have shown that 70% of impulse purchases are completely forgotten within 30 days. That's 70% of your money saved simply by waiting. Stop thinking about purchases in terms of money. Start thinking about them in terms of hours of your life. Figure out your real hourly wage, not your salary divided by 40 hours. Your actual take-home pay divided by all the hours you spend working, commuting, and recovering from work. For most people in developed countries, the real hourly wage is 30 to 50% lower than what they really think it is. Now, when you see something you want to buy, calculate how many hours of my life does this cost. That €200 jacket, that's 15 hours of your life. That new phone, 60 hours. That car upgrade, 800 hours. Suddenly the question isn't, can I afford this? It's, is this worth that much of my life? And most of the time, the answer is no. This is simple but powerful. For every new item you bring into your home, one has to leave. Want a new shirt? Great. Which shirt are you getting rid of? Want a new kitchen gadget? Fine. Which one are you donating? This does two things. First, it forces you to actually consider whether you need this new item. Because if you can't think of anything to get rid of, maybe you don't actually need the new thing. Second, it prevents accumulation. Your home doesn't keep filling up with more and more stuff. In Denmark, where this principle is widely practiced, studies show people report higher life satisfaction despite owning fewer things. Less stuff, more space, more peace. Remember what I said about social comparison? You need to control your inputs. Go through your social media right now. Unfollow anyone who makes you feel like you need to buy something. Influencers, lifestyle accounts, brands, all of it. Unsubscribe from every marketing email. Every single one. If you don't see the ad, you won't want the product. It's that simple. Replace those accounts with content that adds value without selling you anything. Educational content, nature, skills, things that enrich rather than extract. Research from Australia shows that people who curate their social media feeds to remove commercial content report 40% less impulse purchasing and significantly higher contentment. Now, you can't avoid all advertising, but you can dramatically reduce your exposure, and every ad you don't see is money you don't spend. This is a fundamental mindset change. Stop buying cheap stuff frequently. Start buying quality stuff rarely. Our grandparents understood this. They bought one good coat that would last 20 years, not 5 cheap coats that just fell apart. One solid pair of boots that could be resold, not disposable shoes every season. Yes, quality costs more upfront, but over time it costs less, and it performs better, and it doesn't fill landfills. In Norway, a study tracked 2 groups, one buying cheap furniture and the other one buying quality stuff. Over 10 years, the cheap furniture group spent 3 times more and replaced items 7 times more often. The quality group spent less, had better furniture, and dealt with far less hassle. Buy less, buy better, buy once. This is the most important strategy, and it's the one rarely talked about. You need to consciously define what enough means to you, because consumer culture will never tell you you have enough. There will always be a newer model, a better version, an upgraded option. So you have to decide for yourself, what is enough clothing, enough technology, enough furniture, enough stuff? Write it down. Be specific. I need 3 pairs of shoes for different purposes. That's enough. I need 1 phone that works. That's enough. Once you define your enough, everything beyond that is just noise. You're not depriving yourself. You're protecting what you've decided is sufficient. Studies from Sweden's Karolinska Institute show that people who consciously define their material boundaries report significantly higher life satisfaction than those who don't. Not because they have less, because they know what enough means, and they're not constantly chasing more. Enough is not a deprivation. Enough is freedom. I'm not saying you should never buy anything. I'm not advocating for extreme minimalism or living in a cave. I'm saying be intentional, be conscious, understand the game that's being played, and choose not to play it. Every purchase you make is a vote. You're voting for the kind of life you want to live. Do you want a life spent working to buy things you don't need? Or do you want a life with more freedom, more time, more peace? The less stuff you have, the more life you get. More time for the people you love. More energy for the work that matters. More space, physical and mental, for what actually brings fulfillment. Consumer culture wants you to believe that happiness is just one more purchase away. That you're always one product short of contentment. But that's a lie designed to keep you spending. Real contentment doesn't come from having more. It comes from wanting less, from defining your enough and protecting it. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one strategy from this video, just one. Maybe it's the 30-day rule. Maybe it's unfollowing accounts that make you want to buy things. Maybe it's defining your enough. Start there. Implement it for 30 days and see what happens. I'll guarantee you'll save money, you'll feel lighter, and you'll start to see the manipulation everywhere, which means you'll stop falling for it. Breaking free from consumer culture isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. Liberation from debt, from clutter, from the constant feeling that you're not enough because you don't have enough. You are enough, right now, with what you have. And once you truly believe that, consumer culture loses its power over you. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments which strategy you're going to try out first. I would love to hear about your experience. And if you want more content about intentional living, self-sufficiency, and breaking free from the system designed to trap you, subscribe and hit the bell. We post videos on this channel about building a life on your own terms, not the terms corporations set for you. Thanks for watching. Now go take back your life.